Good morning. Happy Friday. So, this was a study in faith this morning. It was a study in faith. There's been no internet. There was, I don't want to call it a storm, but it iced up overnight. And so, I guess the ice took out the Wi Fi. So, I didn't get Wi Fi until like 2 minutes before showtime. So, that was a study in faith because I was like, well, do I still prepare for the show? Yes, move forward in faith. And I could see the Xfinity truck out the window, and they're up there playing with the wires, and it was just black. Everything was black. I was like, all right, well, we're just gonna have faith. And sure enough, the truck just started up and drove off just in time for showtime. So that's another exercise in faith. Move forward as if, despite circumstances. Move forward as if. And here we are. All right, so happy Friday. This is the 4th day of February. This is the 35th? No, 25th. 25th episode of season 3 of the Be Your Own Hero show. Hero is an acronym. It means lots of things, but mainly for me, it means helping everyone reaps optimism. In other words, helping others helps you. It's a reciprocal action. So that has been my experience. I'm sure it will be your experience if you try it. Anyway, I am the host of the Be Your Own Hero show. My name is Sekouwrites. I'm a professional creative, which means I do a number of different things creatively. And I am the creator of what we're now calling the Hero Ministry Movement. And that started as my effort to uplift and inspire the unhoused community, and has grown by leaps and bounds and has become an effort to uplift and inspire people, period. So, quite the journey. Quick disclaimer, I am not a personal trainer nor am I a financial advisor, so do your own due diligence. And shout out to New Thought Media Network for allowing me this platform. And I know I say that every time, but seriously, I remember when this was like just a shout out on someone else's show. This was a shout out on Reverend Mel's show. And then it became a 15-minute show, and now it's a half-hour show. So shout out to New Thought Media Network for having faith in the expansion of this journey of hero-dom. That's not even a word, is it? But I'm going to make it a word. This journey of hero-dom. Anyway, so catch me here Monday through Friday, 9:45 a.m. Eastern Time. And if you miss the show, you can always catch the replay on Facebook and on YouTube. If you watch on YouTube, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you get a notification every time there's a new episode. All right, all that said, if this show provides any value, if it feeds you in any way, please consider liking, sharing, commenting, making a donation, all those good things. And all of them are listed below in the show notes, no matter where you're watching the show. All right, so this is season 3, as I said, and the theme for season 3 is doing. It's about being choiceful about moving the needle forward, not just thinking about it, not just studying it, but actually taking action steps, being in motion. So that said, let's get into some Hero Ministry Movement news. And I'm going to start off with, well, let's start out with the people in chat. Let's see what's up with the heroes in chat. Shout out to Nan. Shout out to Tim. Shout out to Nanny. Yeah, glad I'm here too. I'm telling you, the truck just pulled off. The Xfinity truck. Anyway. So, all right. So, icy weather out there. And so that'll be my segue. So as you know, if you've been watching the show, I run every day. I run outside every day. That has been my conscious choice. And several reasons. One of which is because I've become involved with the unhoused community over the past couple of years. And so my running outside is a reminder that I have the choice to go back inside. And there are many people who are outside who do not have the choice to go inside. Many of the people who I've served, who I've helped, don't have the choice to go find shelter. And so it's just a brief reminder of what it must be like for them out there in these conditions. And sometimes it's nice out, but sometimes it's not. And today was one of the days when it's not nice out. So I mentioned that the past 2 days it's been raining. And then today, I guess overnight, it dropped down to 27 degrees. So all the condensation, all the moisture from the past 2 days of rain froze. So I thought when I looked out the window this morning that it had snowed, but no, that was the reflection of the sun on the ice. It was so shiny that it looked white. This ice everywhere. So I started my run. This is a segue to my run streak. So this is day 249. And I started my run, and very quickly I had to make some changes. Before I even got off the block, I was already slipping and sliding. I was like, oh, okay, I can't run the route that I plan to run. So let's figure this out. So this is not my first time running on ice, but typically the ice has been in very small patches. And this is just kind of ice everywhere. The whole the whole neighborhood seems to be blanketed with ice. So what I did was I ran to the park, which isn't far, and then I ran around the park, staying on the grass and on the gravel. You'll see this if you watch my run report, which is up now on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. So you can watch the run report. But you'll see that I stuck very close to the grass in the park. And then when I thought, oh, okay, I think it's fine now, and I went back out into the neighborhood, I was like, nope, I'm coming right back to the park and staying on the grass. The point of that is to get extra traction. The grass was crunchy. It would crunch under my feet because of the ice, but there was still traction there, much more traction than the cement, which was very slick with ice. So all that is a long-winded way of me saying that I've learned some things about running on ice, and it's a great full circle moment for me because, as you know, I'm in the middle of my third charity run. I'm raising money for Mr. Charles, and Mr. Charles slipped on the ice. That's how he broke his foot. And I was thinking about him as I was running and thinking about, ways to protect myself, to be as safe as possible as I was out there, in ways that other people like Mr. Charles could protect themselves if they happen to be out walking on ice. And the thing that I already said is the most important thing. Like, I found Mr. Charles in the middle of a parking lot where there wasn't anything nearby to hold on to. There wasn't anything nearby that had traction, like grass. So you want to stick to the edge. You want to stick to the grass and the areas where there's trees so that you can hold on to. But there's something to support you. So anyway, it was a good, again, full circle moment, thinking about Mr. Charles and what he must have experienced that day. And by the way, that is a great segue to the fact that we are 40% of the way to our goal to help Mr. Charles get back on his feet. Again, he broke his foot in that fall. He went to the hospital and wasn't rehabilitation last time I checked. But we're 40% of the way to the goal. I held up the envelope yesterday. He's getting mail here, mail addressed to Mr. Charles. And that envelope, the check that was in that envelope took us to 40% of the way to our goal. So very excited. We're almost halfway. And reminder, tomorrow is milestone day for me. It is milestone 250. I've been running every day, at least a mile a day, for 249 days. So tomorrow will be 250. So I'm going to post heavily tomorrow about the charity run, about my run streak, about how many miles I've run. I haven't added it up in a while now. So, and I ran a half marathon. Oh, wow. I can't wait to see what my mileage is. Anyway, so I'm going to add all that up tomorrow. I'm going to post heavily tomorrow. And I'm inviting all of you under the sound of my voice to share what I post tomorrow, because let's see if we can't get from 40% of the way through the charity run to 50% over the weekend. Let's see what happens if we all blast it out, if we all send it out at the same time on the same day via whatever means we have, whether it's email or social media, what have you. So my task for myself is to create bite-sized bits tomorrow about this charity run that you all can share. So obviously I won't be here on the show, but check me out on social media. I'm going to be posting a lot tomorrow for my milestone 200. Oh, wait, I'm going to get some fireworks for myself. But wait, no, because it's not 250 yet. I'll give myself fireworks retroactively on Monday. But I'm excited about the fact that I'm almost at 250 days. Okay, so that is all the run streak / charity run stuff. I'm very excited that we've gotten to the point that we have. Thank you to all the people that have donated. It feels real. We're gonna get there. All right, so that said, let's move on. 30-day streak challenge. Yes, 30-day streak challenge. Interesting things happening in the Facebook group as per usual. I want to give a shout out to Nan. She wrote something really interesting that I want people to think about. She was talking about how she's joined a run group. Like I joined Black Men Run, she's joined a run group. And that is phenomenal because I already know that they are challenging you to do more than you would otherwise, because that's what happened for me. And I won't tell the story again because you heard the story a number of times, but I remember my first day. That's all I'm gonna say. I remember my first day, and my commitment to myself was just to not quit. And now I've been able to accomplish so much since then. Anyway, what Nan said is that it was difficult to get through the next thing when she was thinking about the next thing. But when she stayed in the moment, if she just stayed in the moment, next thing you know, she looked up and she was done with whatever it was she had to do. And that was my experience too. Like I often was intimidated by the number of miles in running with Black Men Run. Like, we're gonna run how many miles? OMG. But if I could just stay in the moment, and work on whatever I could work on in little bite-sized bits, like, okay, let me work on pace, let me work on breathing, let me look at the scenery, let me just stay in the now. And then the next thing I knew, two things happened. Number one, my body would find a rhythm, despite all the chatter of my mind, all the Pac-Man of my mind. Despite that, my body would find a rhythm. And then next thing I knew, I looked up and it was done. And so it really is a dance, a kind of battle dance that you're doing with your mind to get through it. And you've got to employ all these different tips and tricks and tools to get through it. So shout out to Nan for that lesson and for sharing it with the group. There's all kinds of sharings going on there. So I'm excited about that. Again, if anybody wants to join the 30-day streak challenge, hit me up. I'll send you the link for the Facebook group and you can join. And the goal is, I mean, it's a loose goal, but the idea, the challenge that I'm issuing is to do something every day for 30 consecutive days. And if you don't get 30 consecutive days yet, try again. And just a brief sidebar on that, when I started my run streak in June of last year, I never expected anyone else to say, hey, I want to be a part of that. Like, that was the furthest thing from my mind. But by the end of that month, 45 different people had joined my movement of movement, my at the time, a birthday run streak. And many of them joined for the rest of the month, like the rest of the month of June. And so at the end of June, I said, okay, that's great that you guys did that, but hang in there to get your own 30 consecutive days. Now, a lot of people, most people, the vast majority of people did not do that. And so I'm just encouraging you, those of you that are involved, to try to get 30 consecutive days, because something different happened for me mentally, and I'm hoping that the same thing happens for you. And this is the best quote that I found that describes it. There's a freedom that comes from knowing that whatever tries to stop you has no chance. There's a freedom that comes from knowing that whatever tries to stop you has no chance. No excuses, no weather, no significant other, no phone call, no meeting, no dog, whatever it is, that you're going to get it done. All right, yeah, so that's enough. That's enough. I was about to tell another story, but let me stay on track. So it's 10 o'clock now. For those of you just joining us, because I understand that there are some people that are still like, your show's at 10 o'clock, right? Yeah, it was at 10 o'clock. Now it's at 9:45. It's now a half-hour show. So if you missed the beginning or if you missed the whole show, tune in via Facebook and or YouTube to watch the replay. Okay, so moving on. I'm going to do the envelope challenge dice roll. Where's my die? Here's my trusty die. Let's get it going. It's like a game show now. $1. All you got to move today is $1 from your checking into your bucket, whatever your bucket is. And right now for me, that's a savings account. And my intention, I think I'm going to have a different intention every month. I'm going to stack it up for a month and then do something with it. Like stack it up for a month and then put it into a brokerage account as cash. Stack it up for a month and pay some bills. Stack it up for a month and invest in stock. I don't know. I think every month I'm going to do something different. So I hope you guys are rocking with me. And maybe you don't want to do something with it at the end of the month. Maybe you want to stack it for the whole year and then do something. That'll be a significant amount. Anyway, the number for today is 1. Okay, so what else were we talking about? Morning Zen. Let's talk about the Morning Zen. As you know, I've been doing the 30-day mental diet class with Rev. Melissa, and everyone's on a different day, depending upon when they started and what's going on with them and what days they got stuck on, and so they decide to repeat, etc. All that said, I am on day 28. The theme of this week is health, and the theme for today, day 28, is enjoy new health and happiness. Enjoy new health and happiness. And this is what I highlighted. You can create for yourself a pattern of thinking that is devoid of morbid and negative content. When you do this and maintain such a pattern, you cannot avoid becoming more cheerful and happy. Unhappy patterns of thinking will indefinitely maintain themselves until you specifically and definitely replace them with constructive thoughts that will contribute to your well-being. So generally, this week is about health, but specifically this passage is about health and mindset. And I love the use of the word content. Like that word has so many more connotations now in 2022. We're always talking about content for social media, content to consume. So it's interesting that this is an old word because this is an old book, but it's been repurposed in a new way. So anyway, that was a sidebar. But I want to just read this again, or at least a piece of it. You can create for yourself a pattern of thinking that is devoid of morbid and negative content. When you do this and maintain such a pattern, you cannot avoid becoming more cheerful and happy. In other words, as we've said a lot, it's a choice. No matter what's going on out there in the world, it's a choice. So this morning, my mind went to negative places. I started thinking about, because there was no Wi-Fi, I automatically started thinking about, okay, so it's going to be no show today. Let me do all these, I started thinking about all these other things. And then I was like, no, Sekou, let's stay in faith. Let's move forward in faith. Let's still prepare our notes for the show as if the show is happening. And then sure enough, right on time, right? So it's a choice. The circumstances of life do not change, but your reaction to the circumstances of life can change if you exercise that muscle. Oh, can I do this? So what I wanted to share was a snippet of Les Brown that this passage reminded me of. Let's see if I can do this. So hold please. Let's see. I haven't done an Instagram share in a while. So hold on one second. I want to share my screen and see if we can do this live. Okay. All right. I think this is going to work. So with Instagram, it tends to repeat itself. So you might have to watch it twice, but let's see. All right, there it is. I'm going to take myself out, turn on the volume, and we'll just watch the loop. All right, here we go.
Up over the head, to feel loaded with guilt. You don't have to make any effort to do that. Your mind is on automatic. It will do that by itself. But if you want to begin to move into your own personal greatness, if you want to begin to really enjoy a happy, successful, healthy life, you've got to be willing to go against the tide. You've got to be willing to harness your will and say, in spite of this, I'm in control here. I'm not going to let this get me down. I'm not going to let this destroy me. Weeds don't have to have any encouragement to grow. You don't have to water them. They don't have to get sunshine. They don't have to have fertile ground. They will grow through the cracks of a sidewalk. But if you want to grow orchids or roses or any kind of exotic flowers, there are special processes and procedures you must go through. Well, by the same token, you don't have to force yourself or motivate yourself to think negatively, to be depressed, to hate somebody, to want revenge, to want to get back at somebody, to beat yourself up over the head, to feel loaded with guilt. You don't have to make any effort to do that. Your mind is on automatic. It will do that by itself. But if you want to begin to move into your own personal greatness, if you want to begin to really enjoy a happy, successful, healthy life, you've got to be willing to go against the tide. You've got to be willing to harness your will and say, in spite of this, I'm in control here. I'm not going to let this get me down. I'm not going to let this destroy me. You know?
Yeah. So I really love that. I really love that. So the weeds, the negative thoughts, you don't have to work to get the negative thoughts. Because we've talked about this before. The negative thoughts will happen automatically for all of us. Where you have to exercise willpower is catching those tigers by the tail, to use a childhood theme, and converting them, then replacing them with positive thoughts. You got to work at positive thoughts. The negative thoughts are automatic. They're like weeds. They'll find their way through the concrete, as Les Brown said. And shout out to Les Brown. For those of you that don't know, I opened for Les Brown a couple months ago, and I'm still excited about that. Oh, that is available. You can watch the full thing on YouTube. So just go to my YouTube channel. You can watch the whole thing. You can watch me open for Les Brown and Les Brown's comments about me. Anyway, the point is the negative thoughts will find their way. And so you've got to work diligently to replace them with positive thoughts. Okay, so that's Morning Zen. And then one other thing, another shout out to Nan. She mentioned a book in the 30-day streak challenge Facebook group, right? And I downloaded the sample this morning and I was just like, oh, let me just take a quick look at it. And this quote jumped out at me. Let me find it. I think I kept it on my phone. Yeah, all right. So I only opened the book to the forward, right? Just the very beginning. But this quote jumped out at me. It is, the various aspects of our life are all governed by laws that, while not as easy to understand as gravity, are nonetheless just as real. Once again, the various aspects of our life are all governed by laws that, while not as easy to understand as gravity, are nonetheless just as real. Now, this stood out to me because, believe it or not, I just said this on that podcast with Regina Smithwick a couple weeks ago. So I mentioned this before, that I did a podcast, I did an interview with Regina Smithwick recently. Do I still have that? Yeah, here we go. I was on this podcast, Let's Talk 1943 with Regina Smithwick. And I even said something like, I'm going to try out this concept. Like, that was my language. Like, I'm going to try out this concept with you guys. I haven't said this out loud before. And I talked about gravity and electricity being invisible laws. And then I said, so what's the likelihood that those are the only invisible laws that guide our lives? Those are the ones that we know and that we've defined, but there must be others. There can't be just two, right? There's got to be other invisible laws that structure our lives. And I talked about that on that podcast. And then this quote from this book, which is called, what's the name of the book? Again, Spiritual Economics, reminded me of that quote. So anyway, I have now done a podcast of a podcast. I have taken Regina Smithwick's interview and encapsulated it into my podcast, the Sekouwrites podcast. So you can listen to the whole thing on any of the podcasting platforms. Just look for the Sekouwrites podcast. And as always, check out Get Rich 101, which is about abundance mindset, which is also what this book is about, spiritual economics. It's all about abundance mindset. Okay, so all that is, well, all that was Morning Zen. So again, it's Freeflow Friday, so I'm kind of all over the place. But now let's talk briefly about abundance mindset. I'm not gonna do the quote today because I feel like I'm running low on time. I just want to say a couple things. So we've talked about a number of things this week. We've talked about cognitive bias. We've talked about the fact that cognitive bias comes up consistently and persistently in the career of trading stocks, which who knew? Who knew that would come up, right? We've talked about a couple of specific cognitive biases like outcome bias and recency bias. Outcome bias is the tendency to doubt the decision that you made previously because the outcome didn't turn out the way you wanted. So you got to fight against that. No matter what the outcome is, trust yourself that you made the right decision based on the best information at the time, right? That's outcome bias. And the recency bias is a tendency to look at what happened most recently and then forget about what happened historically across a broad timeline. So you want to avoid that in life too. And these are cognitive biases that traders avoid actively in terms of the stock market. But I just want to make the point that they apply in life. Like if you get in the habit of avoiding cognitive biases in life, then that makes you better apt to be able to make money in the stock market. So cognitive biases, check out outcome bias and recency bias. We also talked generally about the mindset of traders. And I want to read this again. I found this description of successful traders. And it says, successful traders develop discipline, patience, adaptability, mental toughness, independence, and forward thinking. Again, that just describes to me where we should all be trying to go. All of us should be trying to develop those things. And it's fascinating to me that developing those traits makes it easier for them to be successful in a very lucrative business. So we also talked about trading. I talked a little bit about my little bootleg method on Webull. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm fascinated by the fact that it is not as intimidating as I thought. Like, as I thought up until recently. Because you've heard me say on the show, like, I'm not ready for trading. Like, that's too much for me. And here I am, I'm trading. Like, small, tiny amounts. But again, I'm using Webull, which has given me quite a bit of stock. And you too, if you've used the link. And so I'm playing with house money, which takes away all the risk for me. And by the way, the amount keeps going up. Every time I check Webull, there's more stock in there that I didn't buy. Like, I guess that's because you guys are using my link. So that's amazing. And again, it gives you the opportunity to play with house money and to see how this whole trading thing works. We also talked about candlesticks, which I got really excited about the candlesticks. Again, this was created by just a guy in the 1800s, a Japanese fellow who created this system by which he started studying not just the rice that was being bought and sold and traded, but the mood of the people trading the rice. And so he was able to discover that the markets have a mood. They have a feeling tone, as Rev Melissa would say. They have movement. And so he studies the movement of the markets. And because he studied the movement of the markets, he was able to make himself a fortune several times over by studying the mood of the market and not the individual pieces, like thinking of it like broadly, like stepping back from it. And so we can apply the same thing to the stock market. We can think of the stock market as an animal of sorts. It has a mood and movements that can be read by different tools, one of which is called candlesticks. So it's been a fascinating week for me. I hope it's been fascinating for you. Oh, and someone asked me where to find prayer time, which is coming on right now. Sorry, prayer time. I'm cutting in a couple of seconds of your time. Where to find it? What you do is go to Facebook or YouTube and go to New Thought Media Network. So if you're already watching on New Thought Media Network, it'll just pop up automatically. But if you're watching this on my Facebook page or we have Melissa's Facebook page, it won't pop up. You've got to go to New Thought Media Network, and it's already streaming right now, so you'll just be able to pop in a few minutes late. And then right after that is Sit with Rev Melissa. Right where you're watching this, I'll be producing that show, and I might pop in to say a few words. So let me not cut into any more of Prayer Time's time. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching, and I will see you Monday. Don't forget to check tomorrow my social media for all my various posts about Mr. Charles and the charity run. All right, I'll see you Monday. Later.